Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle review coming through with a much needed explanation of that thumbnail, that headline. It's all a bit dramatic, isn't it? What you want about? Well, in this video, we're talking about two things. First thing is that Doodle review is changing. It's not going anywhere. It's not going away, but we're shifting gears, and I'm going to give you the Scooby on what's to come with that in a minute. And the second thing is like if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel or building an audience online, I'm just going to run through all of like the mistakes that I've made and all of the things you could do different to pull it off better than I have. Basically, I've put together a guide of 6 things to do if you're trying to grow an audience online. So if that's interesting, stick around or skip ahead to that. If you don't care about any of those things, thanks for clicking and cheers. If you're still with us, let's get to part one. So, what's changing? Well, look, over the end of the year in that break, I had a bit of time to reflect. And in 2024, I published over 180 videos to the channel. And it's clear to see from the view count what stuff people are interested in and what stuff people don't care about. So, we're going to refocus our time in 2025. And although it says it in the name of the channel, we're actually going to knock the reviews on the head, at least in the form of a video. Look, occasionally, reviews of the bigger artists, they pop a little bit, but, they're rarely the ones that I'm most psyched on writing about. And with them, I feel I'm probably not offering much unique insight that isn't already out there on YouTube somewhere else, often delivered by a more, charismatic and melon shaped mouthpiece. Scroll through my highest performing videos, you'll see it's interviews, it's artist retrospectives, it's deep dives, it's album rankings, and like making ofs. Those are what seem to attract the audience. So we're going to go deeper on that stuff. They'll release on a minimum monthly basis, but most likely bi monthly, occasionally weekly if feeling fruity. And to prove I'm not bullshitting, here's like your upcoming schedule. These are the things I'm actively working on. So there's 10 alternative classics from 2005, top 10 Queens of the Stone Age songs you've never heard of, which is a clickbaity headline. I'm sure you will have heard of them, but it's how this thing works. We're going to do an Oasis album ranking, and we're going to do another vinyl haul from my trip to LA. So what about the reviews? These will actually live on just in written form. And it might not be, everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. But these reviews are going to be collected and published via an email newsletter, which you can sign up to below in the description. And in addition to reviews, I'll do things like live show roundups. I'll do playlists. I'm going to do a feature called One Shuffle, No Takebacks, where I hit random on my library and review whatever track comes up, for better or worse. And as these go out on Friday, I'll also give you a roundup of albums that are coming out that day that you might be interested in. The link to sign up, as I said, is below in the description. There's already about 7 or 8 editions that have gone out in the past few months, so there's some stuff to kind of chew on while you wait for the next one in your inbox. This newsletter is going to be coming out weekly, as I say, every Friday, so stay tuned. So summarize, channel's not going anywhere. We're just going to put more time and effort into the content that people actually watch. And the reviews are going to keep coming, but they're going to do so over newsletter. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel and the newsletter, all at the link in the description there. And yeah, if it's if it's your cup of tea with the newsletter, sign up. If it's not, maybe let me know in the comments. Let me know whether you think it's a good or bad idea, or if you've got any other suggestions for content that you'd like to see in the future. Okay, let's move on now to my guide for doing the whole creator thing better than I've done it. And here's all my mistakes so you can learn from them. And I'll preface this by saying that, this is not a pick me video where I'm offering self pity as bait to attract compliments. My day job is in marketing. So even though Doodle Review has been like my hobby, my little pastime that gives me joy, there's always one part of my brain that can't help but think of all the things I would say if I was advising Doodle Review like I would a client. So over the past like 12 months, I've kind of been thinking about these, making notes of them, and thought it'd be good to publish them in some form. Whether it's of any use to anyone, who knows. But yeah, these are the rules that I should have followed, that I think you should if you're looking to build an audience or start a YouTube or whatever. So rule number one, pick a platform and focus on it. So there's a lot of platforms or channels out there. You've got, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, obviously, you've got Twitter, you've got newsletters, live streaming, and there's a tendency to kind of want to do it all. Surely all you need to do is like edit things differently for each platform, right? Kind of wrong. Each platform has their nuances, and editing a piece of content that was designed for one rarely has the same impact on another. Time is your biggest enemy when doing this stuff, and splitting your focus across multiple platforms just fragments what little time you do actually have. Honestly, until you're at a certain level, I wouldn't even bother with more than one platform unless you can take on a second or third with very minimal effort, like just reposting or whatever. In terms of picking one, briefly speaking, the way to think about choosing between them, here's like maybe a rundown of what they are. YouTube, so obviously about deep dives, it's long form and people want detail. The challenge is just making it a compelling watch, both in terms of your presentation and the production value. But go there if that's where your skill set lies. TikTok is about being snappy. It's not necessarily short content. You can go up to 10 minutes, but in the scroll based feed, you do have to hook someone quickly. You want the presentation to be raw, just you talking, holding your phone in your hand will work. It's also a volume platform. So, in between your key content, you should try and use the various trends as a starting point. Do things like the dumb, filter rankings, reply to comments with your videos, and stitch content from other creators to start a conversation. It will really work best if you can post 2 or 3 pieces of content a day, which might sound overwhelming, but remember that things tend to perform best if it's off the cuff. So you don't need to go all out on production value. As an example, in my case, the way I could do it would be like one main video, so a review, one reply to a comment, and then one that's just like a ranking filter or something. When it comes to Instagram, it's of course easy to say that you should just chuck your TikToks onto that platform as reels and Bob's your uncle. And you definitely can do that, but it's not necessarily going to work in the same way. You definitely want to be doing reels for sure, but just keep in mind they have a 90-second limit, which is a lot less than TikTok. And anything with the TikTok watermark is going to get suppressed by the algorithm. They just won't show it. My best piece of advice when it comes to Instagram is to lean into the stuff that they do that the other platforms don't quite as well. So use stories, particularly polls, Q&As, lean into shareable content, message on DMs. It's really about trying to get the conversation going. And carousels or images as well, carousels or album images can do quite well. Final thing to keep in mind, and it's just rare that accounts blow up overnight. You need to dedicate yourself, and it sounds long, but think about it in terms of years. I've been doing this nearly 5 years now, and between Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I've got just shy of 5K of you in my audience, which is awesome. But that audience base would be much better concentrated on one platform, which is why I say to focus in on one. With 5K of you on YouTube, it'd be easier, for instance, for me to potentially lock down guests for interviews because there's a more of a built-in audience, which right now is much smaller. And of course, there's also the option to monetize. I'm not really doing it for that, but if that's your goal, most of the platforms have a monetization policy, but obviously you're not going to pull in much if your audience aren't funneling through with rules. So rule number one is pick a platform and focus in on it. Rule two is go niche. The best and easiest to action piece of advice I could give to you when establishing your channel or your profile or whatever it is, really, you just have to go niche. You can't just pick music now, for instance. You have to specialize in a subcategory. I cover all types of music, but really, I should have just focused on one specific genre or subgenre and became the go-to for that topic. You might look to the big creators that you follow and think, well, they've built an empire by dominating, a whole category. What are you on about? But consider this, it's probably likely that that person started building their audience at a time when there were far less creators vying for our attention. They were able to assert themselves as an authority at an early enough point in the trajectory of these platforms that they could organically engage with their audience, even when their field of expertise was quite large. In 2025, the landscape is very different. Let's zoom out. Let's talk about all of social media for a second. On one hand, platforms are saturated with emerging content creators trying to build an audience and are competing for views on the feed. But on the other hand, slightly more encouraging, the way in which content is served to users on the different platforms has changed. Whether it's TikTok's For You page, Instagram's like Reels Discover page, or even YouTube's recommended kind of feed, the channels now utilize algorithms to serve users content that is most likely to interest them, regardless if they already follow that creator. This has resulted in the emergence of what you'd call micro communities, small pockets of users that center around content and creators that cater to a very specific interest. So it's not just fashion, it's charity shop fashion, customized fashion, or high-end extraterrestrial fashion. I mean, I made the last one up, but if you've spent any time on somewhere like TikTok, you know that kind of anything's possible. These communities can't necessarily scale to millions and millions, but they can still number in the thousands. And engaging these communities is easier because the specificity makes the overall size of the audience smaller, but the appetite for content even higher. This is definitely where I messed up. 5 years ago, little old naive me was like, I just love all music, man. So I decided to review albums from all genres and all eras. I review jazz about as often as I review pop, as film scores, as punk. It's kind of all over the map. And to be fair, it's a genuine reflection of my listening habits. I do love all genres, have no guilty pleasures, and good music is just good music. But if I look at this from the point of view of a prospective follower or subscriber, let's say I'm a metal fan and I stumble across a review of the latest Metallica album on Doodle Review. It piques my interest. I like the post. I watch the video. Maybe I drop my take in the comments. I might then decide to tap on the Doodle Review profile to check out other reviews. And what do I see? Miley Cyrus, Miles Davis, Margot Price, and like Madonna. Let's be honest and think about the last time you may have done this. If you have to scroll more than once to kind of see another post that you might be interested in checking out, you're not going to hit the follow. I created a huge barrier for myself straight out the gate because once I achieved the hard task of getting someone to actually take an interest in me, view the profile, and poise their thumb or finger over the subscribe button, I've reduced the likelihood that they'll see another post they actually want to watch by a factor of 100. There's three examples I want to pull up of profiles in the music space that have narrowed their scope and benefited from it, just to case in point. So Anti-Art, 14,000 followers. Ryan over at Anti-Art, he's been on the show before. We've talked Nine Inch Nails. He runs an Instagram and a Substack focusing very specifically on like alternative modern pop culture. It's memes, it's reviews, it's a bit of political commentary, but it all centers around a common theme of like underground alternative pop leaning culture. Simpsons Core, which, believe it or not, it's a profile based solely around the intersection of hardcore punk music and The Simpsons. It wouldn't be obvious if the music isn't your thing, but if you even get one layer into the hardcore scene, it becomes quickly apparent that every fan of hardcore music is also a fan of The Simpsons. It's just one of those things. Simpsons was obviously massive in the 90s, and a good portion of fans of this music grew up then. So it's kind of a cultural reference point for everyone in that demographic. This profile started off literally kind of recreating punk album covers with scenes or characters from The Simpsons. And just like that, like a community was born around it. Since then, the creator's been able to evolve their profile to cover more ground and become more of a kind of cultural figure within the hardcore community with less and less over reliance on The Simpsons itself. They even partner with bands and record stores for like competitions and limited edition releases and stuff like that. Sam Murphy's TikTok page is just gold for lovers of pop music. He dominates the critical landscape of top 40 music with smart, sharp, and interesting videos covering all aspects of the genre. Sam goes beyond just reviewing albums or songs and gives the people what they want. Endlessly watchable content. His feed is full of, addictive rankings, sales breakdowns, album versus albums, artist versus artist. It's just great content, hyper targeted to a cross section of music that is both huge, pop music, and narrow, the dedicated fans of that genre. And these are just a few examples of profiles that have benefited by going deeper than just their overall category interest. These aren't huge profiles at all, but they have super engaged communities and people love their content, can scroll it and can watch it endlessly because it's all centered around a similar theme. If I could do this all again, I would refocus this channel purely on like alternative rock from the 90s and 2000s. I kind of have started doing that now, but I would just go far deeper into that category and ditch the rest of the content. As I try and build on like the interview part of this channel, for instance, it would have been so much easier if I'd have built this channel around one genre. It would make the positioning for artists to come on so much more straightforward because the audience, however large it is then completely catered to what they do. So to reiterate, when you're like starting out, pick your topic and go specific, go deep. The rule three is engage with your audience. It's such an obvious one. You need to basically engage with what people are saying. But ask anyone that knows me personally, they'll tell you I am terrible at responding to text. I'm just one of those people. And unfortunately, that seems to extend to responding to comments on this channel as well, which is so dumb on my part. Comments are your audience literally taking time out of their day, one way or another, to tell you something, good or bad. You've done something impactful enough to make them want to dig in and write something. That absolutely shouldn't be ignored. You should respond, ask follow-up questions if the opportunity presents itself. Use the comments as inspiration for future content. If you see consistent messages asking about a certain topic or requesting content, feed that into your content plan. You're giving people what they want, and you're also signaling that you're receptive, which will gradually make more people want to comment, more people want to interact. And as that cycle continues, that's how communities form. TikTok, and I think Instagram does this as well now, allows you to literally make a video in response to a comment. And this is a brilliant way to foster that community, because your response then isn't limited to only those who happen to read the comment. It's published to your entire audience. And again, signals loud and clear that you're open to interact with them. Someone that does this really well is a guy called Angus over on TikTok. Almost his entire feed is just him responding to comments that ask for him to talk about a certain band or a certain album or whatever. And people just love it. Remember, you're far from the only person creating content in your field. And if another creator is more responsive, more open, even if their content isn't quite as good, people will just naturally gravitate towards them because they feel seen and they feel heard. And again, this is where kind of a lot of these rules kind of feed into each other. This community angle of what I'm talking about is so much harder when you're not focusing your content into a specific niche and you're covering like a broad category in its entirety. When you're focused on a specific niche, you can have fun with it, create in jokes, share memes, collaborate with other profiles, and it builds the community flywheel that will truly elevate and grow both your overall following and your engagement. I place the goalpost too wide. My meme about Taylor Swift is going to fall flat to everyone bar the two people in my audience that like her. You can place the goalpost wherever you want. So keep them narrow, focus all of your energy, both content wise and community engagement, on that narrow focus, and it will grow. Fourth rule is about what I call 1% changes. This rule is pretty simple. Once you're all good with your content, you know what you want to say or what you want to talk about, you should then think about all the mechanics behind the presentation. Thumbnails, visuals, posting times, descriptions. These are all small things individually, but things that can make an impact on discoverability and engagement with your content. Don't just set it and forget it. Think every week, every month, what could you change the next time I post to improve, not just in the content, but in the presentation of the content? You always want to be experimenting and trying different approaches to this. You want to see what works, whether things get better or get worse as you change certain things, and keep track of it and build on it. It's also good to note that there's going to be things that work that you need to make a call on whether you want to pursue. I decided about 6 months in that I just couldn't bear the YouTube face that thumbnails anymore. I just can't do it. I hate the fact that my face is there making some dumb expression attached to a view count that probably isn't very impressive. It just felt like selling my soul, dare I say it, pretentious enough to say my integrity, even though I know no one cares about it, right? No one cares. And it probably works. I just couldn't do it anymore. Same with controversial or clickbait captions. You have to do it to a degree, but I found eventually a happy medium. There's ones that I did in the past where I've kind of done a fake out that makes the video look like a takedown of a band or an artist to attract audiences. But the knock-on effect that I found is that it attracts audiences just to hate on it without actually watching it to see that you're not actually making that point or that you've got a different opinion. There's a middle ground though. For instance, I did a video where I break down albums that have contributions from people from Queens of the Stone Age members, and I listed that as the hidden Queens of the Stone Age album, and it really worked because it's intriguing but isn't too disingenuous from what the video is actually about. So yeah, experiment with all aspects of what you're posting. It's how you grow, but just know some of those things might push you in directions you're not comfortable with. Just be aware you know, that as those things come up, figure out how far you're willing to compromise. The fifth rule is to be watchable and be yourself. If you think of your favorite creators, there's a good chance their presentation style is raw, it's casual and natural. People come to YouTube or social in general to get away from the overly produced nature of traditional media. So, naturalism is a huge asset in this medium. For me, this is probably the biggest struggle I've had on the channel. 90% of my videos are written in advance with me reading them to camera using an auto cue app. People want to watch content from creators that feel natural. So a script is like the antithesis of that. What I'm saying is no longer spontaneous, it's labored over, it's written and rewritten. And add to that, I'm reading off a script while recording. It's not natural at all, it's clunky, and it can create a bit of a mask over like who I am and how I come across if you were to speak to me in everyday life. I can't give you a straight do this and you'll come across like yourself instruction on this one. How you adapt to this rule is going to be very personal to you. You have to know where your strengths are. For me, writing is the medium that I communicate best. Without it, just off the top of the dome, even if I know what I want to say, it doesn't work. I reuse the same words. I inject a big every time I'm like, pause to think of a word. It's just grating to watch. For some of you, that stream of consciousness style might be your thing. And even if, like me, you don't always select the right words, you might just have that thing, that charisma that makes it watchable. If that's the case, you got to lean into it. Be as natural as possible because it will draw people in. My version of this, and it's why I'm kind of changing things up on the channel, is I just need to spend more time on the recording. Things will still be pre-written because I love the writing, and it's how I communicate best. But I need to rehearse, like get the words in my bones. Then when it comes to record, even though maybe I'm still following a prompt, I can be a bit more agile and natural, inject feeling and emphasis with the confidence to go off script because I know what I'm saying so well, which if not wholly natural is at least a bit more compelling. The reason I've struggled to adopt this fully before now is time. Like I say, doing this stuff takes a long time. And in between day job, trying to post 7 times a week, taking 2 hours just to record every video, it's not tenable. But in this new world, for me, hopefully where I'm posting less, I'm going to be able to dedicate the time. So as you come to approach your thing, think about how you can maintain your natural personality and your own authenticity and prize that above churning out content. Final rule is add value. It's the most important one of all. You need to be adding value. Your content needs to do one of three things, as far as I'm concerned. It needs to inspire, educate, or entertain. Not all of them, but at least one of those three things. Inspire sounds a bit wanky, and how much you can inspire someone is going to be very much determined by the content that you make. Like on social, I guess the examples would be business coaches or fitness instructors, stuff like that. If you're doing something more centered around pop culture, like what I do on this channel, you'll likely be in the other two categories. Either you're educating on a topic. So, for instance, I did a video on the making of Mark Lanigan's album Bubblegum. It's pretty lofty to say it's educating anyone, but it is ultimately covering facts that people otherwise wouldn't have known. The rest of the content falls into that bucket of entertaining. And that's a nebulous term, right? How much someone is entertained by something is really in the eye of the beholder. But do just consider when you're putting your content together, whether it's, you know, that you are entertaining or what you're saying or doing is entertaining or that the presentation is entertaining. Try and keep those things in mind. That's it, really. Remember, I'm presenting these because I know full well I've almost exclusively not followed these rules. And that's what I'm hoping to change. And hopefully by watching this, if you're planning to do any of this, you can jump ahead of me because you'll learn from the things I've done. Finally, before I knock it on the head, remember to subscribe to the newsletter below. Keep up to speed on my reviews in your inbox every Friday. Keep it locked here on the channel for now. There's going to be fewer videos, but hopefully better ones. And I hope you stick with me. Other than that, mine, how you go. Take care, mate. Cheers. Bye.